Within the space of a week, what I predicted a couple of years ago and what many of you have been saying now for a long time has proven to be eerily correct. Germany was right to be afraid. It was right to be scared. And now what it predicted, what it feared is most certainly coming true. Germany is losing its automotive market. Not only to car manufacturers from China selling cars in Europe, but also to its own car manufacturers making cars in China and disrupting its own industry. Right now, the automotive industry is by far the most important sector of the German economy. And it seems, based on the decisions of German automakers within the last 6 months, that will be decimated very soon. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Sam Evans. I'm the Electric Viking. Over the past about 24 months, we've done around 3,750 videos. So if you're interested in the automotive industry, if you're interested in electric cars, if you're interested in disruption, in technological disruption in the future, basically, of the world's economy, then subscribe. If you're not, don't. So, what is going on? Well, I can tell you what's going on right now real quickly. China has surpassed Germany as the second biggest exporter of cars. It will soon surpass Japan. In fact, it already has surpassed Japan. It happened this year, in the last few months. And China will never look back. Why? Well, because Germany and even Japan's own automakers, who have recently announced a series of interesting decisions in order to help them stay alive, are enabling China to do this. Now, Toyota has just announced a multi-billion-dollar investment into electrification in China. BMW and Mercedes have done the same. Audi, the same. Audi are now going to use the SAIC platform from Chinese-owned conglomerate. And by the way, it's Chinese state-owned. So essentially, when you buy your next Audi, well, a big part of that car will be made by basically the Chinese government. Yeah, worth considering. But here is the thing. The entire German automotive industry is being disrupted, and most of the cars now made in Germany in 10 years' time, or maybe even sooner than that, will be made in China. Things are cheaper there. But the problem is, they're not only cheaper to manufacture, China is moving at a rapid pace. Germany cannot keep up. It knows this. Innovation is happening in China all the time. It's a bloodbath in China, but EV solutions and EV production are years and years ahead of Germany. And that is the reason why Volkswagen as a group, Audi, and other German automakers are turning to Chinese companies to build their EVs for them. And they're using their electric car platforms. Basically, German car makers feel like they have to do this. So what do I mean by this? Well, within the space of only a few days, the Volkswagen Group has announced that Audi EVs will be made on the SAIC platform, that Volkswagen EVs will be made on the XPeng platform. It's old electric car platform. That's what Volkswagen will use. Also, it will use Leap Motors electric car platform. In addition to that, within the last 12 hours, we've learned that Jetta, the Volkswagen Jetta, will be built on the FAW platform. So basically, the Volkswagen Group are using 4 different branded electric car platforms from 4 different companies to make its next generation EVs. In fact, probably to make its basically now generation EVs, because it's scrambling fast. It's losing market share in its most important place in the world, its most important market, which is China. So it's basically made all these acquisitions. The thing is here, what's most interesting here, Volkswagen now is doing almost everything in China. It invested $2 billion into a Chinese software company to fix its software and to basically build its software for it. It's invested into XPeng in order to be able to use their autonomous driving software and their electric car platforms. It's invested into Goshon High-Tech, another Chinese company, a battery company, in order to make its next generation batteries, lithium iron phosphate batteries, or LMFP batteries, LFP batteries doped with manganese. Now, the thing is, Volkswagen are now so heavily embedded in China that it appears as though their decisions have already been made. They've cancelled the Trinity project. The Trinity project was the Volkswagen Group's new EV platform. That has been cancelled. Instead, Volkswagen has clearly turned to using Chinese manufactured EV platforms. It will more than likely simply produce more and more of its cars in China because it can do so much more cost effectively. And it can do so with companies making the software, doing basically everything for it. Eventually, Volkswagen may just be a manager. I mean, Volkswagen as in the group. Volkswagen, Audi, Skoda, Seat, Porsche, etc. More like a manager of car companies. Now, it owns a 50-50 joint venture partnership in many companies in China. It doesn't own any of its own interests at all, though. It owns a partnership with JAC. It owns 75% of this partnership. In fact, it has the Volkswagen and We group of factories, basically like a big, vast complex in China. It owns 75% of that joint venture. It also has a joint venture with FAW, along with Audi. It has a joint venture with FAW for just Volkswagen as well, a second joint venture. It has another joint venture with SAIC. That's with Volkswagen, Audi, Skoda as well. Then it has another joint venture with Goshon High-Tech. Now, at the time of these announcements, we've heard about several of them within the past 7 days. There was the perception that a lot of this was done from desperation. The Volkswagen CEO said that the roof is on fire at the Volkswagen Group. They have $185 billion in debt and they're being disrupted. The CFO said the company is sick. And several Volkswagen Group brands announced they would buy EV platforms from Chinese automakers subsequently. Now, to recap this, Audi will team up with Alibaba and SAIC's SAIC-backed IM Motors and use their IO Origin electric platform. Volkswagen will launch 2 mid-sized EVs by 2026 with XPeng. Basically, XPeng will build their EVs using their old Edward platform. Volkswagen's China-only brand Jetta is reportedly in talks with Leapmotor to use their 4-leaf Clover EV architecture. CarNewsChina.com says in Europe, the Jetta is known as a family car and Passat alternative, but in China, it is a whole autonomous sub-brand established in 2019 with its own lineup. It's been one of the best top 3 best-selling cars in China. It's often the best-selling car in China. Well, not anymore. Volkswagen are losing market share quickly in China, and they're scrambling to fix this by trying to manufacture EVs. They're unable to do so, so they're getting Chinese companies to do it for them. Volkswagen wants Jetta to enter the EV business, and this is how they'll do it. Simply use a Chinese EV drivetrain with a proven track record. Clearly, MEB, the EVs that the Volkswagen Group make, including Audi, are not selling. This is their strategy. Basically, let the Chinese population know they're using Chinese EV platforms. The Chinese think those will be better and they might start buying Volkswagen's cars or Volkswagen's EVs. Can export those EVs all around the world. That's their future strategy. 2 weeks ago, Leapmotor announced that they are in talks with Volkswagen for Volkswagen to use their platform. Car News China says it's a desperate move from Volkswagen and it must be hard for folks in Germany to admit their EV tech is simply not good enough. Hats off to them for making such a bold move. I agree with that statement. XPeng has good EV platforms when compared with Volkswagen, they say. The transaction has been 8 months in the making. It was revealed in July when Volkswagen Group bought 5% of XPeng. Of course, they immediately increased their stake about a few days later to 6.9%. They'll continue to do so until they own as much of the company as they possibly can. They did the same thing with Goshon High-Tech, the battery manufacturer. Now, the EV platform is not all that Volkswagen will use from XPeng. XPeng has excellent ADAS systems that are similar to Tesla's full self-driving. Volkswagen plans, after scrapping its full self-driving technology plans in Europe, billions and billions of dollars of investment, it cancelled it, fired all of its staff, and it will simply use Xpunk's technology. That will actually be a good thing for consumers. I mean, you may think it's bad for jobs in Europe because it is, but it's a good thing if you buy a Volkswagen EV because it'll have much better software. SAIC and Audi. SAIC owns the MG brand. And the Shanghai-based state-owned automaker sold 5.3 million vehicles in 2022, being the biggest manufacturer in China for the 17th consecutive year. They make the MG4. And if it's good enough for MG, it's good enough for Audi. Hang on a minute. Whoa, MG4 is very cheap. It's one of the cheapest EVs you can buy outside of China. And apparently, it's a really good platform. Audi think it's good enough for their future electric cars. Car News China says this: there's a common trait for these three Chinese EV makers who are licensing their technology and building EVs for Volkswagen. They have excellent in-house developed EV drivetrains and ADAS plus software. Their sales are lower though than expected. So basically Volkswagen is taking advantage, or the Volkswagen Group are taking advantage of the situation of Xpeng, Leapmotor and SAIC having lower sales than they thought they would have. And I think that's a really smart strategy. The thing is here, Volkswagen sales are continuing to slide. On the 27th of July, Volkswagen reduced their delivery estimate for 2023 by 500,000 vehicles worldwide. The main reason, declining sales in China. Car News China says this, it's quite interesting. The tables have now turned. Legacy automakers are preparing to sell their EVs with Chinese tech inside. They're basically Chinese cars now. Toyota already started the trend with their BYD BZ3. Germans are following as Audi prepares SAIC, Volkswagen prepares Xpeng and Leapmotor inside their EVs and their EV brands. It's not just the Germans though. Ford is building a CATL battery factory. Renault has partnered with Geely to develop its plug-in hybrid powertrains. Now, apparently there were dozens of surveys recently, over the last year done in China, telling the Volkswagen Group that Chinese customers thought their EVs sales this year have reflected that opinion. After several rounds of discounts, you can buy an ID3 for $16,500 in China. What do they cost in Europe? Around 38,000 euros, or around about $42,000. Nearly triple the price. And still they aren't selling very well. Volkswagen sold less EVs in the first half of this year versus what they sold in the first half of last year. Here's the interesting thing. If that ID3 is so cheap for Volkswagen to produce in China, why not simply sell them in Europe? Import them from China and sell them in Europe. That's clearly Volkswagen's plan. And that, my friends, is why the German automotive industry is likely to be decimated by 2030. Its own brands are cannibalizing manufacturing in Germany, and that will simply accelerate to the point where manufacturing in Germany in the automotive industry will become a niche. Will Tesla still be around? Probably. Will the others? Well, maybe, but in a totally different way to what they are today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for watching.